Yo guys, sorry for the delay. Yeah. I had a long day yesterday. Whoa. We're finishing the strategy today. Alrighty, let's pull Chatty back up. They're helping us out. Okay, I actually don't even need ChatGPT right now, I think. I think we can just, like, go ahead and make our thing. I think we have all the information we need now to actually just program. Got some new coffee this weekend. Went to a coffee expo. That one's really good. Kind of tastes like cinnamon a little bit. So point move needs to be actually like a class variable here. Uh, yeah. So what's going to happen here is now we have all the stuff actually talking to NinjaTrader and getting the trades. And now that we know how to calculate the actual points that have moved, regardless of, the thing we're trading, now the points are going to be tracked outside of this method so that we can consistently refer to it without it being like reset every time. If that passes our thresholds, which we're going to have to define, we're going to have to say like plus 10 points, minus 10 points, whatever. If it hits either of those, then it's going to have to then, enter a new position of the same type, adding additional contracts, or close out of the position and adjusting the limit, and stop. Sorry, I just was like reading this for a second. So like, just looking at this, and this says like, this was what ChatGPT said I should do something like, right? Where it's just like, if their market position is long and we're in a good spot, then this is the trailing logic. See, now what I need to figure out though is like when I was doing this and it was just running, where is it? All those entries, they were, so obviously this was just like on bar update, right? And if we were like shorting, then every single time that the bar ticked, it was exiting short stop market, exit short limit, right? It was doing that every time. Now I don't know what that's actually doing, because we entered a position and then this just says that it's trailing, I guess. But what I'm thinking about is, does this automatically remove the previous limit you had or stop that you had and set the new one? I think maybe that's what this entry word is. So I think that's going to be what we have to look at. Okay, maybe we do talk to ChatGPT again real quick, just real quick. Chatty, what's up, bro? Yeah. Okay, it will replace the previous one. In practice, it acts like an update. Alright, it's the signal name. Okay, so they're basically, what it's saying is these are live orders in a strategy, which more closely aligns with what I'm used to. So, like, the stop market, or stop and limit and all of that stuff, like, I don't know, having come from learning it myself, I didn't learn all those at first. All I knew was that I could buy something and sell something, and then I could set it at a certain limit or sell it at the market price. So what I would do is I would buy, and then I would set limit offers to sell up above, and then buy offers down below. That would basically be the stop loss, but not really. Like, I'm not selling, I was never selling it, I was just buying more. So, yeah, that's basically what it's doing here too. It's just actually submitting the orders, where I think what it's saying is the ATM strategy might actually just be reacting. Okay, so if we're in a long, so this is why I need to do the drawing, because I want to see, what I would think is if the bar updates and these get hit, but they didn't actually process those trades, like, all of this stuff is showing up here, and I feel like what happened is, even though it's showing this stuff like this, it's probably way less than the actual bar updates, because it probably entered the trade, and then every time the bar ticks, it was adjusting, setting a new stop loss, and if the first one gets hit, we didn't have detection to stop it from trading, so it would just make a new stop loss, whatever, at the current price. So that's why I think that there's like some here that got hit, but ultimately I don't think we would see these if our math was right. We would only see them when it actually should have been trading. I think this is just because the math was wrong on the sim account there. So now what I'm thinking is that we just need to determine the points that go up and down and reset these. It seems so straightforward. I think I'm like overthinking this right now, because I kind of expected it to be harder. Alright, let's just write it out in English real quick so we can track it right. Best way to program: to write it out in plain language so you actually understand how it flows, and then create that. So the way it's gonna have to work, I think, is there's a threshold. Yeah, Mr. Burp, how's it going? Just talking through the strategy real quick. Now that we have the points tracked, it's literally, we just got to figure out the threshold of how many points gained or lost, and then what it does once that threshold's hit. It's two things. And then well, it's kind of two things. It either hits the positive or the negative threshold. So there's figuring out threshold, figuring out what happens when it hits the positive threshold and the negative threshold. Both of those should have similar results where they're, adjusting. The positive threshold, I think, closes. The negative threshold adjusts the order and then resets. Okay, that was good. We were talking about. Okay. I'm going to do A. That's easy enough. When we actually pass the threshold we care about to make profit, we just sell, close, reset the positions, right? So I need to figure out how to just close instead of setting shorts and limits. But then the other option is when the negative threshold is passed, so the way I was thinking about it is it's going to have like a tiered system. So like, okay, I think 5 points is too little to start with, right? So my thought was 10 points plus or minus. Plus 10 points, sell. Minus 10 points, we adjust the order. Contracts, we're going to say contract count goes to contract count plus contract count times 4, right? Okay, so this is like basic starting point. If it goes down 10 points, we look at the contract count that we have, right? So if we start with 1, it goes up 10 points, we sell. It goes down 10 points, we have 1 contract. We're going to then adjust it to contract plus contract times 4, right? So it goes from 1 to 5. So from there, we're at 5 now. So that greatly reduces the entry point. Okay. Entry point gets reevaluated. Contract size gets updated. What are the other variables? We don't need to update either of those. It's literally just the quantity and the average price get updated, right? And so what happens with that is we just take the existing quantity and average price and then add new quantity and price to that and average them out to get, the actual new average. Because what we do is we take that first one and its price. We'd add that price to 4 times the next price and then divide all of that by 5. And then that's our new entry point, right? So if we were at $100 share price, we bought one, our entry price is at 100, and it drops down to 95, and we buy 4 of those, then our entry price should be like 96 or 96.5, something like that, right? So instead of the points being calculated from the 100, the points would then be calculated at the 96.5, right? So what we have here is once this happens, we're going to have a counter. Number of adjustments. I don't know. I'm going to think of that word, right? So we're going to have a counter to track how many times we've already done this. And that's how we'll determine how to set our stop. Because at a certain point, it's going to be way too many shares. See, first trade is 1 share. Second trade would be 5 shares. Third trade would be 25 shares, right? Because it would be 5 plus 5 times 4 goes to 25. And then the fifth time, or whatever, fourth time, whatever. The next time would be 125, which we can't do, right? Max contract size we're allowed to trade in the rules is 1,000, or not 1,000, wow, 100 total at one time. So maybe we adjust it so it ends up at like 90 or 100 for the last iteration, and then that's when we'll have the stop loss. So we're gonna have to track until we have 100 contracts, and then we'll set the stop loss like 0.5 points down, 0.25 points below the 100 contracts. Okay. So the counter that's tracking the adjustments is actually going to be able to affect our point threshold. So the idea here is it goes down 10 points. We adjust the order, the contract count, but then again, the entry size gets updated and the contract size gets updated. But we don't necessarily want this to then happen again at the same point, because it wouldn't necessarily cover our entries. We kind of have to stagger it a little bit lower. So like base point value might be 10, and then we might have like a 2.5 multiplier for every adjustment that it's made, right? Or maybe like a 1.75 or something. I don't know. Basically, like the first one's 10, the next one's like minus 25 points, and then the next one's like minus 40 points or something like that. Yeah, so to make sure it doesn't go infinite, then once we're at those, like, we're going to have to track the contract sizes, and basically once it's at a point where it's going to go over the amount of contracts, we have to set our stop like basically right underneath that, and then just lose that trade. It went too far at that point. I think the idea here, at least what I'm trying to approach, is I click enter when I think the market's going one way. I think it's going to go down. I hit sell. And it should just go, plus 10 points and sell. And then I'm like, okay, cool. But if I really thought it was going to go down and it goes up, then if it hits a certain point, I'm confident enough in myself to think it's going to go down. So that's when it adjusts and uses the confidence to say, no, it's going down. And then hopefully that ticks. But if you're wrong 5 times in a row there, that's the issue. That's when it becomes like you'd get wrecked by this. But that's why I also want to adjust it so that every time it adjusts. So we were talking about the negative points being increasing. The positive points would decrease, actually. So every time it adjusts, you're going to aim for less points. Partially because that way you can make sure you have a higher confidence that you'll actually hit that, because it's going to go up. It has to go up less each time that you go down, so you have less to cover. But also, as we're increasing the contracts, the amount that it goes up becomes less relevant because it could go up 1 point and we have 100 contracts and now that's like $300 or something. I mean, depending on the market, at that point to dollar ratio is kind of arbitrary. They pick it for the market. But anyway, so that way we can at least cover whatchamacallit, the losses of the first initial couple trades, and still try to exit early. But yeah, the goal is to not have it go infinite unless we're just talking about the money. The goal is to have it make a trade that it can exit out of very quickly. So then we can just keep hitting enter, and it keeps exiting these trades very quickly. So just enter. And then the strategy at the end, not on Apex because we can't fully automate it, would be it just starts hitting enter. Every time it exits, it enters. And then it just wins. But which way it enters is like what we would have to say, like, oh, if you think it's going up or down. And then it would just have like the tiered buying and selling. Alright, so for this, we need to figure out when the negative threshold is passed. Alright, I think in the very beginning of on-bar update, we just have like a fail-safe type of thing where it's like, if the contract size is too big, and the points are X negative, I don't know how much yet, just close. So it's gonna be the very first check, right? So immediately on every bar update, we're checking our contract size that we're managing, how many points it's gone down, and then based on that, we should know whether or not we need to close immediately or if we can adjust the contract size. So there's two ways we can close. All right. Let's do it. That's fine, and then we actually don't need both of these. It's kind of pointless to have them both. They're telling us the same thing. So the base point move is going to be those base points that we're using and then adjusting. So I was about to make another variable called like current point move threshold or something. So that would be, you know, whatever base is times the number of adjustments we've made. But I think we could actually remove this variable in a sense and have a different one where the threshold, the point threshold, instead of just being a number that we define and is always the same number, could be dynamically adjusting depending on how many contracts we have. So the more contracts we have, the higher the points would need to move for us to make another move for the negative, that is, you know. So contract size is 1, then we multiply that. Oh my gosh, no. Oh, I'm gonna have to come up with some like math function for this. So if you could have up to 100 contracts, we could turn that into a percentage. So each contract is a percentage of like a point threshold, right? So if the maximum point threshold was like 30 points, right? And we had five contracts. This is gonna take brainstorming. I should just be like, yo, ChatGPT, do this for me. This is what I like to think about, though. These kind of things I like to think about and actually figure out. So actually, let's just leave the threshold for now. I'm trying to like overcomplicate it before we even get to that point of having the strategy, trying to like remove this variable. For now, we can just have this. Yeah, and then we'll just adjust it and track it as we go. Alrighty, and then need actual current point move, which is different from the current point move threshold and the base point move threshold. Alright, so on state change, we still got to revisit some of these, make sure that stuff, trace orders. Oh. Yeah, like I'm saying right now, like this stuff, I don't even know what most of this stuff does. So, I'm just going to minimize that for now. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like there's like it's gonna require brainstorming, and that could definitely work. But yeah, I just hit that same thing where I was like, we're not gonna make progress right now because I'm trying to figure out some like niche part of this algorithm when we could just finish the strategy, start hitting submit orders, and see how it works, and then adjust that point. Yeah, so let's keep ATR in mind. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I don't know if you guys use Visual Studio. I do a lot. There's this comment class or comment plugin I really like. Just gives you a couple comment colors. I think you could also do like, is that it? Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's X, yeah, test, which is the same as that. Sorry, brief pause, but yeah, this is super cool and helpful for people if you're just working on a giant project and you need different notes that you're not going to keep around, or you want something to like explain stuff. Like when I have these, my to-dos, you know, they're always orange, red's usually questions, green's something important, and then purple's like, I reserve that for explaining how the code works. Because like when you're scrolling through, you can kind of scroll past that purple, but if you stop a piece and you're like reading and you're like, I want to see how this works, purple then kind of could like stand out. But yeah, that's comments plus from Muhuman. 3 5-star votes. Yeah, sorry about that. That's some things like that I just can really appreciate. All right, so now this is where we're at. So I'm going to add this first. Actually, I'm not going to add that yet, because approaching limit is something we're going to have to figure out. Do we want it to be when it's at the limit of 100 plus? It's going to depend on like how we're adjusting the contracts and stuff. So I'm just going to leave that there as a note for now. We do need to do that. But ultimately, this right here, that's all we need to grab the point move. And then based off that point move, we can do this. So, I'm gonna do this because I think it's dumb that ChatGPT made that entry price variable. That's all fine. This is actually going to be current point move. And we're going to make it a double. Make all these doubles. All right. There's the points. Now, I set it as base point move threshold, but it should not be. That's just for right now. I don't know how to. Oh shoot! Now I'm gonna have to do short versus long closing. Maybe? Can I just exit? Exit. I'm frozen right now because I don't want to have to just do like if manual side is equal to short, you know, like this. We're going to do this right now just to get the logic out, but it's going to be something we can clean up. There's going to be so many, like just this whole thing, the idea that we have this inside of this, but this is already something we're checking outside of here. And yeah, it's going to be something we can clean up. So, okay. Manual side is short. I'm wondering if we need to keep the name there. The other thing I'm thinking about is exit short. Oh. We might want to just have our stuff set to exit, like it should make the limit orders instead of trying to make an order once it detects it. So like what I'm saying right now, it's like it's gonna go and make an order. And it's watching it as the bars update, watching, and then exit short if the points are above the threshold. So at this point we are watching, I don't know why I brought this up yet. I was thinking maybe I'd use it. But we're watching the market and trying to react. But we know if it went above that threshold, we would want to exit. So instead of this, I think this is really, we're only exiting if we're trying to like stop the loss, right? But even that should be something preset. So I don't think we're going to be using exit as much as we're going to use exit these. Exit short limit, exit stop market. So, and that's not even going to be based on the point move threshold in the moment. It's going to be calculated every time the point move threshold gets changed, right? So for that, it should be every time the point move is greater than the point move threshold. Then it changes, yeah. So the very first thing it does, here, my account execution, When this happens, it needs to set the limit we need to set those orders immediately when the first execution is encountered, right? And then an on-bar update, for most of the time, it's doing nothing. It returns because the current point move is going to be less than the move threshold, right? So the thing here, though, I need to figure out how to compare that against up versus down. But yeah, okay, so I'm adding notes everywhere. Plenty of these are going to get deleted and whatever. It's just we're working in a little sandbox here, just making a mess. We'll make it look good, though. Don't worry, guys. Just want to get it all out in notes first so we don't forget anything. So all right, if the point threshold isn't hit, plus or minus, either one, we can return, right? Because theoretically, if we're at this point, we already have a limit set from when it first entered, right? So on bar update in this position will keep going to the current point move and checking. That's all it's doing. Then when it passes the threshold, that's when we actually adjust the orders. No need to ever call exit short directly, right? Not yet, at least. Maybe there's some crazy edge case that we can figure out. But when the thresholds are passed, okay, so here we actually don't need to think about the plus threshold, like resetting that. Not resetting it. We definitely reset the plus threshold. We don't have to worry about if it gets hit here. What's going to happen is if it gets hit, this will get yeah. So when the positive threshold's hit, we get an order coming through here. And we can use that to update our current position, right? So what's going to happen is threshold passes, we have the order already on the market, so that order gets hit. I just saw an edge case. Gonna have to figure this part out. But we're working right now with the assumption that if our order gets hit, the entire thing gets filled right away, right? I think that's safe with smaller amounts of contracts, but as certain contract sizes go up or like the volume of trading goes up, then there's a greater chance that the whole order does not get filled. So this is not going to work with that yet. We'd have to figure out like when it sells partial orders or does like a partial fill, how to track that. Might be something where we like adjust the limits. Speaking of adjusting limits, I realize now I keep forgetting about some critical strategy that I want to include. By critical, I mean like, okay, it's just important, but I keep talking about how we don't have to adjust the limits and all that, but actually the best strategy would be one where it trails. So if it passes plus 10 points, then it moves the limit, like target profit, profit target to, the highest right below the current max. So if our goal is 10 points, goes up to 11, we move it up to 10. We actually set it at 10 then, once it's above 10. 10.25, set it at 10. If it goes up to 11, set it at 10.75. Like, just keep moving it as it goes up, and then as soon as it ticks down, we're good. So that is something. So this maybe is wrong. Yeah, we can't set the top. We need to trail. The trailing is like part of what's going to make this strategy like profitable. Because the idea is both that you're cutting trades early so that you risk less time in the market and less with the trades, because the trades you're cutting early, they're small, right? Or if they get a little bit bigger, you try to cut them even faster. But not cutting them early per se, but like as soon as they're ready. You just, like, if it was like a fruit, right? And it's getting ripe on the tree, you can watch it, and at a certain point, it's going to get so ripe it falls. But right up until that point, you could be sitting there like this. And then eventually it'll fall and you just catch it right there. Right, so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to follow it up and catch it. Okay. Unfortunately, I cannot stay later for the stream today. I forget if I said I gotta go visit my grandma today. But also tomorrow I can't. But one of these days, maybe, I mean, if we can't finish this, we're not going to finish this over the next couple days, in the sense that final product, it's not going to be final product, because we're going to have to brainstorm more. But it may be like working over the next couple days. But maybe on like Friday or something, we go for a little bit longer and actually like flesh this whole thing out. Because then we can actually start messing around with ATR and some of these other things. Right now we're still just getting the core skeleton logic down. And if we do this, this will be like a manual trade manager. And we can just, like, the part where it's entering stops and limits and stuff like that, pull that out a little bit, make it modular, and then we have something that can detect manual trades, and we can put any strategy we want into it. So that's kind of what the goal is here. It's both making this strategy, but also setting ourselves up for future work and making it way easier in the future. All right, so back to thinking about this. We're going to start, I think, with one direction. Just do like shorts or longs. because the code is going to be almost identical, besides like a couple switches where it just changes the points and then like the terminology being used. So like oh my god, yeah, I would have been shorting. I would have lost my account. I know like this graph looks like maybe you could go either way, but when I was looking at all the other ones, it's just like, yo, this is going down, man. Except for this, my daily. I still have my trend that I drew, which again, I think I would still say, oh, it's going to go down and meet this and then go up the trend. But yeah, so I can't trade yet. I mean, anymore. Not yet. I already traded plenty. Okay. Let's get some serious. 10 minutes of work done. Yeah, the confirmation from larger time frames. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a goal as well, but that's going to be a little bit down the line. Oh. But I do think that it's probably good to have for some strategies. Like, yeah, the charts, they can look so different. It really just depends on the time frame that your strategy's trying to trade on, I guess, too. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that. Oh, maybe configure. Because I wanted hours, right? Because I wanted, like you said, a 4-hour trend or a 6-hour trend. But I didn't know how to add that. Whoa. Alright, this is how. Okay, so I think, well, yeah, the code we'd have to do differently. But say we wanted 4 hours. Oh. I'm gonna put 240, 60 times 4. Boom. Apply. So that's minutes. Now. Boom. This is the 4-hour trend. Alright, that's cool. Or 4-hour graph chart. Probably want to load, you know, like, let's say 2 months. Boom. Boom. There we go. I like that. That's cool. Okay. Yeah, NinjaTrader, honestly, like, I feel like I'm also just so new to it. There's so many features that I just don't know about. Like, that was something I was trying to figure out the other day. I wanted a 6-hour chart. But this is good. Alright, yeah, sorry. We did not make much progress code-wise today. But thought-wise, we did. Did a little cleanup. So I'm not working on this code off-stream. I'm not working on my trades off-stream, you know, because I want to make sure you guys see everything. I don't ever want to be one of those guys where they're like, oh, but his P&L, he didn't show it for these trades, he's a liar or whatever. I mean, yeah. Not that I'm going to go and lie when I make trades off-stream, but just to make sure you guys are fully involved in it, you know? Don't want to do stuff and leave you guys out. So that's what I'm talking about, maybe having a longer stream session, maybe on Thursday or Friday, probably Friday, because that way some of the actual coding could get done that might take me a little bit longer to like sit and think about. So maybe we do like a 3-hour stream on Friday or something. Because some of this, it's like I talk about it, get it thought out, and then it's like it's going to take me 45 minutes or something. But if I already spent 30, 45 minutes talking about it, then it's going to push it past the time when I have like my other stuff I got to go take care of. But yeah, so longer stream on, we're aiming for Friday here. But we should have some good notes and stuff ready, and we may make some good progress tomorrow and the next day as well. Alright, so I think I'm going to have to make... okay, so I need to figure out if I can make lines at like a class level that they would draw. And then just when these positions are updated, update those lines, and if the whole graph, like the line on the chart, will update, or if I have to make a new line. But that should be very straightforward. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that's basically the next step. Fleshing out this math a bit more. So if the market points absolute value is greater than the threshold absolute value, we set a limit at the current price minus 20 or 0.25 points, so that would go either direction depending on if we're buying or selling, and then keep updating that until that gets hit if our threshold is passed, right? So once that upper threshold is passed, we're basically in a loop that's going to close the trade. Otherwise, if the lower threshold's passed, we just do that, buy more contracts, update the quantity, price, and threshold, and then let it do its thing. So it's literally just those two steps. Just those steps have a little bit more they have to do. But yeah, I think I'm gonna save it there today because it's just those two things left for this type of setting the orders. But I might first tackle the drawing tomorrow, because we're going to put this in and then we're not going to be able to tell what's happening when we go and run it. So the drawing's going to be pretty important to see like the lines where it's like moving the orders and stuff. But yeah. Alright guys, actually I know it's a little early and I started a little late today, I'm sorry about that. I do gotta go this afternoon. But like I said, we'll catch up and make up for lost time over the next few days. and a longer stream maybe Friday morning to get this fully out. But yeah, good luck with your trades today, guys. Hopefully it all goes well. Maybe people get to use that new 4-hour trend chart that I just threw together over here. But otherwise, yeah, good luck out there, and I will catch you guys tomorrow morning, right? And yeah, and let's do it. We'll make some good progress. All right, see you guys.